Caroli, Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to oppose this particular proposed legislation on constitutional grounds. And I would like to pose the questions on the constitutionality of this particular bill. In particular, I'm struggling to find out which provision of the Constitution this particular proposed fund is seeking to actualize or operationalize. In other words, what is its legal anchor or what are its legal legs? And one of my colleagues is indicating it is Article 206 of the Constitution. And for the benefit of the members, I think it would be useful to read Article 206(1)(a) of the Constitution so that we are all on the same page. That particular article says there's established the consolidated fund into which shall be paid all money raised or received by or on behalf of the national government, except money that is reasonably excluded from the fund by an act of parliament and payable into another public fund established for a specific purpose. Honorable Speaker, if that is the article on which we are relying, then we need to be very clear. All money received or raised on or behalf of the national government must be paid into the consolidated fund. That naturally would include proceeds of privatization. And money raised or received by or on behalf of the national government and which should be paid into the consolidated fund can be excluded by an act of parliament, which I believe is what this bill is trying to do, and be paid into another public fund established for a specific purpose. And by specific purpose, that would mean any other purpose other than those listed under 4th schedule of the Constitution. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, the proposed infrastructure fund being established under Article 206(1)(a) of the Constitution is by itself a subset of the consolidated fund. That is what it would be. It would not be a separate fund. It would be a subset of the consolidated fund. And it can only then receive and hold funds. It cannot be an avenue for expenditure or investments, otherwise by parliamentary appropriation. Any withdrawals from the infrastructure fund, like the consolidated fund, must be done only by way of parliamentary appropriation and approval or authorization. And any withdrawal from the infrastructure fund must be approved by the controller of budget. Again, those are constitutional provisions. The infrastructure fund, like the consolidated fund, is to be administered by the controller of budget. That is Article 228 of the Constitution, Article 228 of the Constitution of Kenya. And I would like to read it for the benefit of the members, so that we all are on the same page. Article 228 says, the controller of budget shall oversee the implementation of the budgets of the national and county governments by authorizing withdrawals from public funds under Articles 204, 206, and 207. So 206 is very significant in this case. It is for the controller of budget to administer the fund. Consequently, the proposals in this bill for a board of directors, a chair, a CEO, an administrator of the infrastructure fund are by themselves unconstitutional from the plain reading of those clauses. And if you look at Section 24 of the PFM Act, which is being invoked for purposes of appointing an administrator for this fund, that particular section does not apply to a subset fund of the consolidated fund, because then it would undermine the constitutional independence and authority of the controller of budget. That particular section of the PFM Act applies to other funds other than those that are subsets of the consolidated fund under Article 206. And it does not apply to this particular one. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, because I believe this country needs an infrastructure fund, and I believe we need one that is constitutional. So I'm proposing the bill be amended to establish an infrastructure fund in compliance with Article 206 to receive and hold the proceeds of privatization under the administration of the controller of budget. And then we establish an investment fund for infrastructure within the Capital Markets Authority framework and there are provisions that can enable us. We just need to apply ourselves. And if you look at Section 25 of this proposed bill, where we are talking about guarantees and all that, and you read it together with Article 215.
Your time is up, Caroli. Osoro. Give him a minute. Give him a minute. You know you have 5 minutes, so compose your thoughts.
Yes. Section 25 of this proposed bill talks about government support measures, binding undertaking, letter of support, letters of credit, credit guarantees, etc. If you read that together with Article 214 of the Constitution of Kenya, sub-Article 2, where the public debt is described, for purposes of this article, public debt means all financial obligations attendant to loans raised or guaranteed and securities issued or guaranteed by the national government. We are creating a pathway to more debt. There's no point of denying it. With those remarks, I will forewarn